iron sheet. Imagine. Earth was one landmass, I was first. I touched on rights from birth, I'm not cursed. Still one landmass, I reach Atlantis. Fell in an abyss, now the first land split. Abyssinia, let's make sense, don't forget. Still one landmass was Kush and Kemet. Branching south and north, east and west. Some stayed the path, some strayed in experiments. A few ciphered, and many deciphered. Cracking sacred generic codes, creating a hybrid. By the time we reach Asia, Nor and Asia saw Kemet fell and made the custodians Moors. You're probably asking what happened to Kush. Into Kemet is where he got pushed. Pyramids of Egypt show our greatness. Put ourselves on the wall so you can't debate this. Back on course, since I navigate carefully. Moors took the Nile back home to the Mississippi. Some took the knowledge over centuries shared with Spain. Thought they would see Northwest of Maxim again. By this time the great earthquake shift the earth plates. And Haber say Europe is their birthplace. When we had Europe, the mountains caucus. Even scientists and politics have meetings caucus. Imagine what you thought real was fake. Imagine what you thought true was a lie. Imagine what you thought real was fake. That's chemtrails, not clouds in the sky. Imagine what you thought real was fake. Imagine what you thought true was a lie. Imagine what you thought real was fake. That's chemtrails, not clouds in the sky. Now, a Moor is a black person, especially Negro, who claimed Jesus, son of God, under a steeple. Moors are Moabites, so was Ruth. Jesus' great-great-grandmother is Ruth. Jesus is a Moabite too, so he was a Moor. Circle 7 was the 5 fish and 2 bread they saw. Buddha is a mind state caused by the mudra. Kali Yuga is the magic of the Kama Sutra. Spirit mother, black sons of God and man. Our niggas on the block with the Glock in hand. Niggas are the Nagas of Angkor Wat. When we lived abundant with bank or not. Here is where we enter new evidence of how the Satan rules, creating current events. Wrote the Albion, were the creators. Evil scientists that look just like us. Lost their pigmentation, didn't lose the knowledge. Infiltrated the hybrid seed to abolish. It's all in your blood, many watch faces and skin color. Misnomers classify races. A few learned a lesson, many chose to stay. The rest are just pawns in this global game of commerce. They reverse, we are verse. Fake Adams that stole the lessons get truly cursed. Imagine what you thought real was fake. Imagine what you thought true was a lie. Imagine what you thought high was low. Imagine what you thought fast was. Imagine what you thought real was fake. Imagine what you thought true was a lie. Imagine what you thought high was low. Imagine what you thought fast was. Put it all together, I have more as science. You have blind faith in the story of tyrants. See my fez on me and call me a shriner. When his tassel is tacked down, I'm flowing like minor. Hiding in a lodge called Arabic names. Unabridged definition of Arab is my claim. When you say a white man did it, you mean yourself to the ethers. And the nations know you don't know yourself and keep us in subjugation. Always retaliation against the wrong enemy and got the wrong remedy. Pulse racing from false education, appearing real with no qualification. He took your knowledge and now you act like a pagan. Worshipping men and rabbits egg laying. It's crazy, will only faze me if I'm lazy. Stay focused on the youth and maybe monkey wrench the plan with thought power. Time is an illusion, Babylon is down in short hours. If Zion is like the Matrix, it's going down too. Agents against Ra get backed in corners like coons. Swing and miss, knock down all your wickets. Rapping words, speaking pro say I hear crickets. Screw face your brother, but watch the judges faceless. You created them, and now you're nationless. Imagine what you thought real was fake. Imagine what you thought true was a lie. Imagine what you thought high was low. Imagine what you thought fast was.
Islam Moors, peace and love. Another day, another one waking up. Somebody wanted my thoughts on something. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Any questions at all, put them in the chat. See, the trolls are even in here. Islam to all the trolls. So we want to give honors to Bill Bunting, European, just being brutally honest. Are they going to hear? Who knows? They might not listen. You know, they might listen because the European is our people's God. So since they honor the European so much, we'll play him, see what he knows. And again, if you got any questions, comments, put them in the chat. If you got anything to add, push the thing so we could bring you on.
Hey, how y'all doing out there today? Listen, I have a message of life for a particular group of people in America, which is the young black male in particular, but really most of all black American. I got a very strong, serious message for you, and I hope you take it as strong and as serious as I give it to you, because it comes from my heart, and it also comes from a lot of knowledge and paying attention to this. But before I get started, I'm going to say right now, I have not a one bit of understanding about the plight or being an urban black man or human in America, much less the urban areas. I did spend a large portion of my life in the South, and I was raised with poor country folks, so I know country folks and I know country community, okay, and super poor. So, but where you were able to take care of each other. So before I get started, I just want to say I'm not some social justice warrior. I'm just a amateur historian and a brother that cares. And I hate the powers that be. I hate the kings that think they are in power over all of us. So I just want to tell you that the way things are today have been planned for you. Everything from the way you dress to the music you listen to the attitude, the world's largest in history prison system. All this has been created just for you. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but I'm going to tell you why.
So you already know prison industrial complex. And people playing games with you and some conspiracy theory stuff with concentration camps and all this. The prison's the concentration camp that they had planned for you. It's not some Guantanamo Bay, whatever. It's these stuff that Nation of Islam, Rastafarian, whatever, all these different groups, Muslims, whatever, all these different groups taking finance from the colonizer to go do programs in the prison. And of course, you're going to have your 501c3 Moorish Science Temple getting their cut. Because the game is always against our people. And the only reason we're the ones that's getting gamed all the time, the only ones that are getting gamed all the time, constantly getting gamed, people classified as Negro, black, colored, but they don't want a nationality. They think what Moors are talking about is not where it's at. Okay, no problem. This European knows. This European knows that prisons were built for black guys. Everybody else just happened to get caught up. But prisons were really built for black guys. And he's saying that his people's not even going to agree with that. Why? In order to justify their BS that they're doing. It's for the criminals and whatever like that. Okay, well, if walking across the street makes me a criminal, that's a problem. If everybody else doesn't get asked for ID and I'm the only one that gets asked for ID because I look a certain way, that's a problem. Because they're going to make up some act and say that me walking across the street's a felony and try to say 25 years. And which is not something they're trying to say. There's people right now who's in there for nothing. Just in there. Just because. Right? Bill Bunting, one of the realest Europeans out there. Now we also want to put on the record some, because you know we got to throw Noble Drew Ali in there, you know, because people think he's full of BS. People think he, stole Levi Dowling and all this stuff, not acknowledging his prophethood, right? Because they're in denial of their own birthright, thinking that this is some type of club. So this is Drew Ali. The Moors were living up and down the Mississippi River before the European man came here. If the Moors were living up and down the Mississippi River before the Europeans came here, and then our ancient foremothers and forefathers across the Atlantic were living up and down the Nile, wouldn't that mean it's the same place? Wouldn't that mean it's the same culture? Wouldn't that mean it's the same people? Do you need a PhD to figure that out? It's common sense. Just think. Joel even said that. Think and save yourself. Just think. That's all. You don't need a book and all that stuff. Just use your own cognizance. Just use your own. You don't need to call that guy and all that stuff. Use your own common sense. Think for yourself. Don't think how other people want you to think. Let it feel good in your heart. The Europeans went to the Moroccan government and asked for permission to come over here to develop this land. They were given a 50-year mandate to do so. Then the Europeans went to an old sheikh and asked him to give them some people to help to develop this land. The sheikh told them, take those Moors because they are not going to do anything. The sheikh said, take those Moors. So, when they say Moors enslaved black people and all this, stop the BS. No, they didn't. Moors might have enslaved Moors, but Moors didn't enslave any black people. Moors didn't enslave any Africans. Because all those things are fictions. And then if we say Moors enslaved Moors, then why are you calling yourself black, Moor? Yeah, we know, we enslaved you. Our bad. Yeah, we told the Europeans, go get you. Because you wanted to be dumb nigger back then. You didn't want to be Moors back then. That's why you got put in slavery. Now today, you still don't want to be Moors? And you're using the name that we put you in slavery as because you didn't want to be Moors? These people know mandates up. Why do you think they kill people who are in the line of the family who can make decisions? Why do you think they created the Middle East? To take all the focus away from where the seat of power was, where our ancestors were ruling. Everybody has to create a jurisdiction in order to fit into the story because they can't take the story of the Moors with the Moors still here. Moors are still here. Moors doesn't go anywhere. Oh, but our people don't want to be that. They want to be something else, some fiction. And then when we let a European tell you, then you're telling us that we're siding with some European or something like that, as if he's lying. But this is what our people want to do, not accept responsibility. They don't want to take that L. Because they know they're going to be taking the L based on their incompetence. Not based on anything moral or somebody violated them. It's going to be because you're a dumbass. is why. One day, the Europeans are going to lock the food up in warehouses, put soldiers around them to guard them, and you will go anywhere he says to get something to eat. You think that's not going on right now? You think people getting food stamps where they could only use a certain place isn't that exact same thing? These people being told where to go, and then if they lock everything up, everybody's done for? One day, the European is going to let you down. You are going to have to put up a 90-day supply of food to last you until your brothers come to your rescue from the east. This is Noble Drew Ali talking. He was talking about this stuff in the 20s. And then 2020, people are talking about they can't get toilet paper. You think that's not the same stuff that he's talking about? You think it's not the same stuff that he's talking about? The European will not be able to remove all the wealth from the land. After he goes back to Europe, mountains of gold will be revealed to the Moors. And then be looking at some, Himalayan mountain turning into some gold stuff. No, the mountain of gold is the raising of your consciousness. The mountain of gold is you surpass the pineal gland. The mountain of gold is your crown. The mountain of gold is not some gold under some trees and digging and you're going to find it, sifting through the stuff to get the gold. That's not mountain of gold he's talking about. Because he even told the people that this is divine before it's national. But they don't want to deal with the divine. Because when you deal with the divine, now you have to deal with responsibility. Now you have to face all your nigger demons that you thought you can get away with by putting on a fez. Put on a fez, you get away with doing your nigger shit. No, you don't. You thought you would have, but it ain't working like that. And if it's working like that, then move from you, because when lightning starts coming down on people, you don't make sure you're not around the people who are going to be getting lightning. Make sure you know who you know right now. Remember, this is all just about the European. If the European be just, they would have an Asiatic vice president, and if they had an Asiatic president, they would have a European vice president. Didn't that happen already? So how are people denying his prophethood? How are people denying his prophethood that the thing manifested not only did it manifest, but it's the first time it's ever been like this, ever? There was an Asiatic president and a European vice president, and you think they're not telling you something? Oh yeah, you're just looking at this national. You're not looking at this divine. Just like we said yesterday, I don't care if Beyonce is eating babies. She could be eating Asiatic babies. The Asiatic baby eater took the Moorish flag and put that in the video that if you go on, her site, she got 500 billion followers or something. She's not talking to dumb niggers. Baby eaters talking to Moors. Like, first of all, let's look at it like this, right? Let's go with what you're saying, right? White demons. These demons, right? Now we know. Oh, you know what? Let's go to Noble Drew Ali. What do you think he's saying when he says this? Listen to this one. Relative to what you're talking about with the white demons and where they come from and all this. One day, you are going to smell the Europeans before you see them. In boxcars going back to Europe. Now, when you look at the origin of the quote-unquote white man, if the conclusion is that Europeans were created, then my thing isn't the white demons. My thing is the black demon that created the white demon. Who is that dumbass? That's the guy we need to go strangle. Forget the European, they did something. Who's the devil that made the devil? That's the guy we need to go check. So you talking about white demons and all that stuff, you already put yourself off where you're not even supposed to be at. Because one, they're not white. First of all, that's the first thing. They're not white. Second of all, a demon is your lower self, not some pitchfork running around chasing you or whatever. The demon is the lower self, and those people that we say white people, they're not white. They got nationality, and they don't play that white BS when you ask them what's their nationality. I'm Irish, German, French, and whatever. They don't play that I'm white is their nationality. Only our people play that dumb stuff. Nobody else plays that dumb stuff. Only our people. And again, Drew Ali said, think and save yourself. People aren't even thinking. People are just going with it just because. Going with it just because? So first thing, they're not white. Get that out of your mind. Second thing, a demon is the lower self, not some stuff in the shadows that's gonna get you, or some under the earth there. How's there hell when there's a hollow earth and there's a sun in our earth with civilization there? Where are we if there's a hollow earth? If there's a hollow earth and there's a sun within earth, and then there's civilization there, just like in Wonder Woman, if we go through that fog right there and then there's a whole different world and all that stuff over there, where are we really at? And then where are you at? Because if you're at the place talking about white demons, then you're way out of here. You're out of the park. You're Jose Canseco out of the park. Over the wall, over the river at the back of the stadium, you're out of here that far. And you know, it's not because of you, it's because of incompetence, because that's how your nigger leaders taught you. Your Negro leaders who work with the other side, right? Their job is to make you think that people like Bunting, people like Bill Bunting, they're the devil. Doesn't matter what they say, anything they do, they're the devil. And then everybody who looks like us is the gods of the whatever. Well, how come the gods of the whatever are killing people for sneakers and stuff like that? How come the gods of the whatever are you know, 88 to 90% of the work, but 1% of the profit? Regardless of what we look at that runs a society. So we're changing that paradigm and going with what Noble Drew Ali was talking about in the 20s, because nobody implemented it yet to even see if it would work now. And the only people who have been people who honor him and proclaim their nationality, and they're doing the work of waking up their people to this fact. And the longer you go, the more you realize that, yeah, this is divine first. This has to be divine first, because the national isn't matching up, because there's too many people that want to be incompetent. It's not even, it doesn't even make sense that so many people just want to be incompetent. Right. Like lady went in the elevator on 2nd floor, right? So it goes down before it goes up. So I got on the 2nd floor from doing laundry. It goes down. Lady comes on. I'm going to 12. She's going to like 8 or something. Don't you think you should have a mask or whatever? I'm like, well, if you have a mask on and you're good, and I just came, and I was already in here with nothing, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And she didn't say anything. Have a good day. Oh, no problem, you too. Because you better know. You can't be assuming, can't be guessing. You better know. Only way you know is if you study. And the only people who I study, from what I see, are Moors. Even dirty Moors study. Because dirty Moors have to study the good to know what not to do so they could be dirty. I'm going to leave the European here just long enough to teach you how to run a government. I am going to leave the European here, not something else. I am going to leave the European here. Just long enough to teach you how to run government. Watch the newspapers and listen to the radio. I'm going to make the European tell the truth. And with that, we'll get back to some Bill Bunting.
They want to, it's basically a good way of controlling and depopulating or keeping a population. If you'll notice, the black population in America hardly ever rises over 12 or 13%. It usually stays a steady 10 to 13%. That's strange when others seem to fluctuate, go up and down. You gotta kind of look at that and take it with more than a grain of salt. But in the early 70s, after the LBJ, the Lyndon Johnson, or President Johnson, they started the Civil Rights Act. They wanted to make you a minority, make you dependent on the government, make you think that they were there to help you. And all the time the plan was just to destroy the black family. It was to rip you apart.
Oh. So this European knows that the Civil Rights Act was brought in to rip you apart. And then who is it calling for civil rights today? Who's calling for civil rights? Everybody else is talking about go to the UN and whatever like that. And who in the world are the only people that are playing civil rights? But everybody else is talking about international law. Some people are talking about civil rights. They're talking about civil rights. You probably didn't hear this European. Let's just rewind this European again. This devil. Let's rewind this devil again. You let the devil tell you, since you don't want to hear what Moors are saying. Now let the devil tell you.
Lyndon Johnson, or President Johnson, they started the Civil Rights Act. They wanted to make you a minority, make you dependent on the government, make you think that they were there to help you. And all the time the plan was just to destroy the black family. It was to rip you apart. Proof of this is just later on in the Nixon administration.
So hold on a second. So if this European, right, who's the devil, is talking about the civil rights came to tear you apart, and then the black guys are telling you, oh yeah, civil rights, that's how we're gonna get our whatever, and let's go do civil rights stuff. Doesn't that mean the devil's probably not a devil, since the devil's really the guy who's pushing the civil rights? This is Bill Bunting. This is one of the best Europeans out there. Even though he eats squirrel and all that stuff, doesn't even matter. Right? He'll be out there, barbecue his squirrel and all that. But when it comes to the black whatever and what black's going through, oh, Bill Bunting is on it. He's on these people. On them. But they don't want to hear him though. They want to listen to Negro leader telling them about civil rights in 2020. 2020. Civil rights.
I believe it was in 73, the Roe versus Wade decision came up to legalize abortion. And the black mother back then was still very strong. The family unit was still very intact. So they knew that they couldn't do it just by saying, hey, it's legal to get rid of a baby. Nobody would do that. But when you make it a right, when you make it something that they're holding against you, or a woman's right to choose, they used a lot of psychological warfare on that one, that's for sure. But it wasn't for women.
Oh, there's a lot of psychological warfare. Hold on a second. Let's just see right here. Let's just see right here. This is African-centered consciousness versus the New World Order. Garveyism in the age of globalism. Amos Wilson. Page 113. Culture and social engineering. A culture creates its own possessing spirits and enculturates and inculcates those spirits into the bodies of its members, so that those members, in defending their own egos, in defending their own interests, in defending what they perceive as their own needs, in satisfying their own tastes, in satisfying their own values, satisfy the needs of the culture, enrich the culture, empower the culture, defend the culture, and advance the interests of the culture. That's if you do it the right way. If you do it the wrong way, all that stuff is completely negative and goes the other way, which is why we're always victim. We're always victim. We're always given the position that nobody else has to go that way. Like why did Nick Cannon have to apologize and sit down with the rabbi? That's social engineering. The same power that he's talking about they got, that they make them run Hollywood and make them run whatever, is the same stuff that they're using to back him down. And anybody who knows him. Right? If you have any questions, throw it in the chat.
women's rights so much as it was to depop. They had predicted, the government looks at statistics, and they had predicted that there was going to be this super giant rise in the late 80s and early 90s, and especially in the 90s of urban youth, black youth, all right? And this was going to cause a lot of gang violence. This could even be a takeover of the cities. They even had movies about it in the 70s, like The Warriors, where the gangs were going to take over. Some guy named, I think his name was Cyrus, was going to take over. And but anyway, they really feared this. So they basically decided to allow the criminal to be killed before it was born. And I say that because that's the way it was. That's the way this plan was laid out. That's why this really happened. It was so they could kill this population wave that was coming up, that they knew was coming up, and it would be in the urban areas, which would probably cause more gang violence and takeovers of the city.
Right, which is, remember when they said about the indigo children and all this? That was right around that time. Because again, it's a wave. So everybody who knows that there's overlapping in the generations, where there's times where everything's good, music's good, food's good, whatever. Then there's times where, what is this? So they've seen that. Remember, they have the projections of our ancient forefathers, because they have all their calendars and all that stuff in their little vaults. They have their think tanks that figure all this stuff out. So they saw things that were projected, and they were able to implement, so that, going back again to the prison industrial complex, right? How is it that there's people who were there that get out of there and then they miss there? What do you mean you miss there? Yeah, well, so and so and there, and then whatever like that. Now flip that to having knowledge and not having knowledge, and somebody willingly saying they don't want knowledge, they don't want to better their mind state, they don't want to evolve. If you have people like that, you have a society like that. And if you have a society like that, it's probably going to be a race of madmen. Not sticking to anything. All over.
Cities, like I said. Now, you go from that, then you look at how they flooded the streets with during the 80s with the crack. It hit the urban areas the hardest. The other more class-related areas of town, the partying was always with the powder. No, the crack hit the urban cities, and this also caused a lot of violence and caused a lot of killing each other. And about that time, the Clinton administration, y'all think the Clintons were big liberals. The Clinton administration was trying to figure out a way of marking you as a criminal, as having a thug mentality. So probably starting around 91, I believe, they started to infiltrate the prison system, especially I believe in Cochran, California, and they started making that popular. Matter of fact, I hate to tell you brothers this, but many of y'all have been infiltrated by the CIA and the FBI to promote a lot of things. The music, but anyway, the bust and the sag and the flat brim hat, the Nikes. Look how many people get murdered over Nikes. Now, that's just a thing, but it's also a marker. This would show a fashion that would lean towards a thug mentality. So they could actually mark you in the street and see you. They wouldn't have to ask your ID. They would just say, hey, that guy's most likely.
Bill Bunting. Look him up. He got videos up there. Good brother. And when he was talking about the whole thug mentality and all that, don't forget, you can go get the Black Dots book, Hip Hop Decoded. And Hip Hop Decoded is a must-have for anybody who says they rep some hip-hop. So just take page 195. It's safe to say that records, radio, videos, movies, and magazines can be considered as the matrix of hip-hop. It's the only place that such feats can take place on a grand scale. Let's keep it real. Most of us will never experience such adventures. There are those who live a lifestyle similar, but they are usually the batteries to the program that's trying to enslave us, just like your favorite rapper. He's simply being paid for his services. You too can be a battery to a program that controls millions, but first you have to be contacted by what I'll call the gatekeepers of the construct. These are the ones who are responsible for plugging you into the right program, but they're very hostile individuals who are not to be trusted. They're called agents. If you want a record deal, you need an agent. If you want a movie deal, you need an agent. And if you're hot enough, you won't have to look for them, they'll find you. So beware. From this point forward, if anyone feels that they need to reinsert themselves back into the matrix of hip-hop, just read your glossy favorite hip-hop magazine from cover to cover. Listen to the radio or watch your favorite video show for about an hour straight. This should be enough to reinsert you, and you can close this book and believe whatever you want to believe about hip-hop. Yes, Bill Bunting. But that was Black Dot, the hip-hop decoded.
Likely, because they go by statistics. Is most likely to be a thug. He thinks like that. He dresses like that. So apparently he is like that. That way they could come after you. And guess what? When you're holding your britches, you can't really run. So part of that was to make it a little bit easier to capture you. So if you did try to run, or it would probably make you more likely to stand and just face the officer thinking you might get away with it because you're not doing nothing. How many times does the police come up on you and you're not doing nothing and you got away with it? So I just want to ask you that. Because that part of America is very real. That's the other thing. Around the same time, the rap music started getting really big, but also that music leaned towards criminal behavior, treating women bad, money, you know, everything for you, bling, bling, all that, take it, it's yours. But there was no censorship of that.
Right, and then as soon as you start talking like that, oh, he's racist and all that stuff, you can't say that. Why are you saying that? No, he's right. He's not lying. He's right. He's telling you. Telling you with no apology how you play yourself. We're letting you know that that's how he's telling it to you. And nobody really told these Moors. He's going to make these Europeans tell the truth. And some of them are telling our people. Are they going to listen? Yeah. That's yet to be seen. But by the looks of it, it's very, very unlikely. Because, you know, Beyonce is a baby eater. So her putting a Moroccan flag in the video, you know, that doesn't mean anything because she's a baby eater. And they're new Illuminati and they do stuff, Illuminati stuff. But all you have in there through the whole thing is goddess theme, Moroccan flag. Goddess theme, serpent theme, half moon theme. You think they're not talking to people? They could be putting their jurisdiction out there like, you guys can't touch it. You already know how Moors do. You already know who the Moors are. We just let these people know that, you know, this is our flag over here. Did they have any any other flag in there other than the Ghanaian flag or something? How come they have all these different flags and stuff like that? How come they just had those ones? Why? Why those particular ones? Why? Well, that was just a brilliant idea by the director. Oh yeah, who was her? Oh, the writer. Oh, who was her? Just put that in there for nothing. Now, I don't know if she's a Moor and all that stuff. I don't know, but I know that's a Moroccan flag. I know that's the same flag Noble Jolly was talking about. Just like we talk about Roman J. Israel, Noble Jolly on the fridge. Why? Why have Noble Jolly on the fridge? How long did they film this movie? This movie was, you know what I mean? 80 days it took us to film this. Alright? So 80 days, how many scenes did you do in the house by the fridge? Out of 80 days, probably 60? 60 days. 60 days. He's just there filming. Noble Jolly on the fridge. And that's just there as part of the movie? Think he's not trying to tell you something? You think Denzel is not trying to tell you something? Think he's not trying to tell you something? Deja vu, all these movies. Like, you think he was trying to tell you something? Like Noble Jolly said, Moors, you sleep too much.
And you think that the music, well, they didn't censor our music. They don't censor nobody's music. Well, I just want to say at that same time period, the heavy metal, especially the thrash metal, bands like Megadeth and Metallica. Look at the Metallica album, Injustice for All. It's about the New World Order, about how the shadow government takes us. How all the things about the government, the people.
And that was crazy, because that one took me back to my Indian Trinidadian friend, Amrith, and my European friend, Tom, who were metal all day, every day. Metal is what they repped. They repped some metal. You're not hearing anything when you go to their house other than metal. And you're not taking out anything, and you're not putting in your own stuff. And it threw me back, because I was like, that's pretty crazy. Because the heavy metal guys back in the day were the guys who were standing up when the teacher was doing BS in the class or whatever. Teacher not teaching what they're supposed to be teaching. It was the metal guy that was be standing up, cussing the teacher out. You teaching me this shit, man. Start talking about Megadeth verses and stuff like that, about why they being like Hitler and all this. So it's a real thing. Our music talking about some BS. European metal stuff, they're talking about anti-government, whatever, and tyranny and all this. Look what they had shaping them. You know, some We Shall Overcome and all that stuff, right? What was Ozzy Osbourne doing? Going up stage, biting bat heads off and all that. Got the chicken up there, cutting chicken heads off on stage. Think people don't know what they're doing? And you're looking at it as some spooky before you get your own little stuff, and you better do your own rituals. You better start checking what your ancestors used to do for their rituals and start implementing some of that. Because these people are doing their rituals and they look fine to me. They ain't got no issues. Murder in the street and all that. You ain't got to worry about none of that. Think and save yourself. Thinking is essential at this point.
EMRC back then, which was a regulatory thing for music, they labeled their music. They didn't label anybody else's music, but it was allowed to go. And even when people spoke out about it and said this mentality is actually destructive, the music is great. The telling a story of urban life is great, but some of this has turned into look at how everybody started to act, and they see people on TV and they see people in the music industry acting a certain way. This also caused a lot of murder, a lot of gang violence, a lot of killing of each other. They have you killing each other is the whole point I'm trying to tell you, brothers. This is planned on you through fashion, through music, through...
Remember, this is the devil talking.
Social media, through the television, through laws, through the prison system. They got you thinking that some of you fellas thinking that it's cool to go to prison, like you're going to go get your mark and that's going to show that you're tough. They give you all these things to die for. I die for my dogs. I die for my brother. I die for my gang. I die for my people. But they never tell you nothing to live for, brothers. Oh my God, I hope you can see the evil in that. They took away teaching you anything about real life, mothering of the woman, the being the sister, being the man of the house. And it's all to get something, money and hoes, having all the women you can have, just doing this, that, and the other. And look it, they took the man out of the home. I told you before, in 1964, when the government said they was helping you, which is actually when they started to destroy you, the black family was 78% intact. And today it's 7% intact. And you're just, and the black people are just right behind, like the white people in abortions, but you're only 13% of the population. So that's way more. You see what I'm saying? You got now you times it like by 6. That's how many more of your, what you want to say, your people. And I'll.
Oh, and for that Willie Lynch, look up Manu and Pim. Death to the Willie Lynch speech. Look that shit up. Manu and Pim. MANUAMPIM. Manu and Pim. Death to the Willie Lynch speech. And then get your mind blown with that. Talking about some Willie Lynch. We've been played. We've been played so crazy that and when we look at we've been played, it's really sorcery. It's not, cheating the game, hide something in their sleeve or whatever. It's sorcery. High science. Creating neural pathways. Manu, MANU, and Pim, AMPIM. Manu and Pim. Death to the Willie Lynch speech. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. How rigged the game is and our people play. Should I be like, I see now how unfair the black whatever is being a Moor. Like, I see that as unfair. It's a rigged game. Like, you're never gonna win. You're not gonna win. And if you do win, you're Nick Cannon. How's that a win? How's that a win? If I have to apologize and bring these guys on my thing, and I have to go visit their museum, and I have to do all this stuff, just because I said Jew are dark-skinned people? That must be a big secret. I don't know much more, but I want to get through, brother.
I don't care about it, labels, y'all. I get labeled and I don't care. What I am is a brother that knows the truth about your history. Let's just say since the 60s. I'm not going to go way back. See, that's the other thing. They don't teach you nothing in school except for about the bad things of history. They don't teach you in school about how the original man, the original civilization, the kings of old. I mean, they never teach you that part. They take away the people that build nations, build black nations like they did to Gaddafi. Look what they did to that man in Libya. They keep you down this way by making you fight each other. Now, that's the biggest point that I'm going to make to you right now. They have you doing their dirty work for you. So please research why they popularized busing and sag. Please research why the rap music was allowed to stay violent towards women and criminal towards getting money for drug deals. Please research we are the largest prison system in the world and about 80% black. And down in the South, it's like 85 to 87% black. Look at the inner city murder rates and look at how it applies to you. And look how they also got white America fearing the thug mentality, but having you thinking that that's your culture and that's your style and that's the way we're going to be. So they keep enemies just through fashion and music. Just through fashion and music, which actually should be things of beauty. Fashion was supposed to be showing yourself out, and music's supposed to calm the savage beast or be a release and expression of who you are and how you feel. That part of that music was amazing, amazing. But they allowed the twist. They pay a lot of your brothers off. They pay a lot of your brothers off, and y'all know it. And when other brothers stand up in the modern day, like Tupac Shakur, they got shot down. When Michael Jackson even stood up, he killed himself in his bed, or he was demonized. You see what I'm saying? Anybody that tries to tell you the truth, that's in that world you're living in, they get killed. And guess what? It gets killed through violence. And they promote violence. You didn't do this. This isn't what you made for yourself. This was made for you. So please see that. Take back your culture. Take back your lives. Live your lives. Stay outside. America's a country where you're supposed to be able to live like you want wherever you live. So do that. Don't forget that. Quit worrying about what people that don't like you think about you, and stick with what the people that are your brother, your tribe, people that want to coexist, people that want to live their way like me and coexist with you, my brother. Because I don't want to be killed for how I look, and I don't want you killed for how you look. That's how we coexist. And we also coexist by being real with each other and by speaking to each other. Now, I'm speaking to you as an older male elder, not as a white man, not as a white Southern. I think a lot of you older men out there too, we should be talking to these young brothers and teaching them life again. You young brothers, you go live your way, but you make sure you're living your way. You make sure you're not being tricked and killing your own brother and to live in some other way so you can be marked and kept down. Think about that, brothers. I love you. Peace.
Bill Bunting. Bill's the man. Islam, just send your contact. Send your contact in the DM. And we'll build. That ain't nothing. That ain't nothing more. And if there's any Moors near Florida on here, you already know. Glees Day, looking for some good Moors. And then you know that day that you got right there is really supposed to be DEY. And then DEY is one of the Moorish titles. That's how connected you are to this. Glees Day. That day is not DAY. That's a fiction. Day is actually DEY. Just like